Let me see here. Okay, it's recording. Well, my name is Ellen Graham, and I'm so fortunate to be part of this really great team. I'm a national marketing director. I've been with the Juice Plus company for 11 years. I've been an NMD for 3 years, and tonight, you guys, I want to take about 22 minutes of your time, and I really want to demystify starting up new distributors, because you know what I feel like happens? We attract an awesome army to our mission of people who get it. They get that we're not eating enough fruits and vegetables. We've got them in a capsule, and they love to share that with people. And they go out and they build great customer bases, which I want you to do. But sometimes we get that hiccup, that fear around inviting people to our team. And actually, I have found over the years in raising up my own team that when you dig underneath that fear, sometimes it's the fear of, how does it work? A lot of us want to know exactly kind of how the story is going to end before we read the whole book. Do you know what I mean? We never really know that with our new distributors, do we? So we don't get to control people, places, or things. Reagan tells me that all the time. She has to still tell me that. But we can take our system that we've got. We can take some simple steps, harness it, and guide people so that we can show them the next steps. And this is what I say to my team. I'm like, please don't have an event without closing the sale. Why would you go to all that work? People need directions. That's a cultural thing. In our society, people need help knowing what the next step is. Somebody's got chatter in the background. Do you mind muting yourself? Thank you. Anyways, I'm going to share my screen tonight, guys, and we are going to go over right to the, wow, I was there earlier than I thought, over to the mission-driven model. Because when people get started, they have their virtual office, but we also have this great mission-driven-model.info website. And here's the thing. When you click on the first tab, and you can do this on Zoom with your brand new distributor, and for me, ideally, this is like after we've had their first event, we've put their first orders in, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about the order of that. It's always going to be a little bit different every time. Be okay with that. But I love it if I've already been in their living room, we've got some orders, and now I'm saying, okay, let's put this all together for you in a way that makes sense. So we click on getting started, and this is I already had this open, I know, but this is a great little way for you guys to stay organized. Print this for yourself, print it for your new distributor. If they're long distance, they can print it for themselves, obviously. Let's say that in the month of March, I start 3 new distributors. I would print 3 pages of this, and I have their names at the top of each page, okay? So let's say that I have Patty, and I have Bobby, and I have Judy. Those are my 3 new reps, okay? So I have a page for each of them. And I might note on the corner what their start date was, because I'm keeping track in my mind or on paper, you know, when that first order in, and you know, are they working on their HLP, their 2,000 plus. So we have this whole checklist for them to really keep it simple. Now, they've already put their distributor application in, logged into their virtual office. You've probably shown them how to place a few orders. And if you haven't yet, you're going to do that through this process. You'll point out to them where Juice Plus Promotions is. And I go through these things pretty quickly with people, and I just let them know, come back to me if you have questions. There's always refreshers, but I want to be careful, I think, not to overwhelm new distributors. When I was new, I just wanted to go out and talk to people. I didn't really care about a lot of the information. So this checklist is nice because it keeps it pretty simple, okay? We want to have that discussion with them of what their expectations are. And when I'm doing that, that's basically happening when we're going through the fast track roadmap, okay? So if you guys go back to your getting started key, you've got your fast track roadmap right here. Now what's cool is people can actually come down here. They can print out the fast track roadmap. They can print out the points chart. They can print out that getting started worksheet. They can have an easy little folder for themselves, right, when they are getting started. Just make themselves a little workbook. But when I'm sitting down and I'm talking to somebody about joining their team, I'm always going to show them this is how it works. And I won't get into all of that on that call, this call, because you guys know how the fast track to HLP works, the fast track to 2000 plus, qualifying your business, and then sales coordinator. But you want to be able to sit down and go through all of that either on Zoom, sharing screens with them, cup of coffee, kitchen table. You could do that at the sandbox. I know I certainly did a lot of that. So let's go back to the getting started checklist. This is where on this worksheet, I can refer to that conversation we had about the fast track roadmap. And I can say, you know, you definitely, let's say they already did their HLP. You did your HLP, you've got 500 of your 2000 points. Let's refresh and get you moving forward towards that. Tell me more about what you want. This is such a great question, and it changes at every phase of the game. Somebody that's initially having a cup of coffee with me that is maybe a raving fan customer, but they haven't gotten a customer yet, they might be skittish and say, well, maybe I'll just try and go for that 500 points. I'll see what happens. Great. Help them get there. Get in their living room. Talk to their friends with them. When they get there and they get that experience of a little bit of success, they're going to have more confidence to move forward. So you can come back to this question, say, okay, well, how are you feeling now? You know, what are your expectations? What do you want now? And be on the same page with them. Have them writing this stuff down. You can jot it down. I keep these pages just, you know, I use my high achievers playbook, and I have a couple folders in here, and you can keep those in there. Now you want to get them connected at some point, and this is where I really use my intuition in terms of not overwhelming them. I want to get them on Voxer though, and I always tell my new reps, I'm like, that's the best way for us to communicate, because it can be too much texting and you'll be happy to use your voice. And I also want you to meet our awesome community through our team chat and be able to ask questions in there anytime, night or day. It's cool because people get back to you when I may not be able to. I get them in our Facebook group, and I ask our team members to always post a welcome. I think it is so, so important to welcome people. Feels really good. For you guys that are new, nod your heads. It feels really good, right, to have your picture up there and have everybody say welcome. And, you know, your sponsor might say something about where you're from, what you do, things like that. And that's how, you know, that's how all of the wonderful faces of our team become people that we really get to know. We want to make sure they're in our customer Facebook group. A lot of times if I'm signing up a rep who's an existing customer, I remind them, you know, our customer Facebook group, now you're going to add your customers to that, okay? And then number 3 is really, really important. And I think that we too often skip this step, you guys. You need to introduce your new people to your national marketing director or your sponsor on a 3-way welcome call. And this is just great for them to hear your NMD's story. If your NMD's on vacation, go get another NMD. They're happy to tell their story for 10 minutes. That will inspire you, inspire your person. They're gonna ask some questions, and I promise you, this is true, that your NMD will uncover something about that person that you didn't know. And so there's all kinds of gifts in that 3-way call. So get that scheduled, let your people know what to expect. Now, when I'm setting up that call, one of the things I want to do is keep in mind that my new person and my NMD are going to be doing all the talking. So I'm going to get to mute myself. That means I'm going to schedule it at a time that's really convenient for both of them. Usually the way I do that is I get 2 or 3 times from Reagan, and I go back to that person knowing their schedule and say, okay, which of these times would work best for you? So that's something I can do maybe with kids running through the house because I'm muted. It's not too crazy here. You want to share with them about conference. And this is something that's really, really important to do in the getting started process, is just introduce them to the idea of conference. Let them know where they can find that on their virtual office. Let them know your conference story, what happened to you at your first conference. Now, depending on the timing of starting your new distributor, you know, you might be saying like, Tori and I are she's launching a new distributor. She's finishing her 2000 plus this week. So we're talking to her about going to Phoenix simultaneously, and that free ticket she's going to get. So you want to bring that conversation up, you guys, and then you can always circle back to it. Now, I love this sheet because I can keep my notes. I can say, okay, let's say I talked to Patty about going to conference and she like freaked out and was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to conference. I might write down Patty freaked out, come back to it later. And I will come back and I'll get Patty. She won't freak out on me next time. Sorry, I just have to use you as an example, right? So have them add to their contacts the corporate number, assure them how wonderful they are at our corporate office. They're open, you know, between 8 and 5 Central Time. That customer care and the business support emails, those are also really helpful. And then the get moving section, okay? We're just going through this list with our new rep and kind of checking things off. But what are those first events? And I really think of everything you're looking at on this page, you guys, those events are the key thing. I don't care about any of that other stuff that we just talked about because I don't get paid for any of that. Your distributor doesn't get paid for any of that. They get paid for having events and talking to people. So you want to get on their calendar. And if there's hesitancy around events, that's where your 3-way call with your NMD or your upline can really help uncover maybe what that fear is around and help them get launched, okay? So let's say that now Bobby and I sat down, he's on Voxer, we have got an event next Saturday, he's already invited a few people, they said they're coming, and he just texted, let's say he just texted his cousin, and his cousin is one of those people that can be prickly and skeptical. And I'm like, okay, Bobby, what are you gonna say to your cousin when he comes back at you with what's this Juice Plus thing you're doing? And that's when we're gonna start to write his story, because when I ask him that question around what's he gonna say when somebody that might get prickly with him questions him, those emotions are gonna come up, right? So I can help him work through those, build and develop a powerful Juice Plus story so that when that cousin does return the phone call or the text, he can say, hey, you know what? I don't know if this is for you, but I remember you mentioning a year ago how, you know, we both have some aches and pains. I found something that helps. Are you open to some information? Okay, let me tell you what happened to me. I started taking Juice Plus and I noticed that I didn't need my alarm clock to get out of bed in the morning. I noticed that I had a little more energy at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Whatever that story is, you want to help your distributor develop that. And there's worksheets in the mission-driven model. There's worksheets on everywhere that you can use to help them do that. And that story is truly the most important gift that they can share with the world. So empower them with that. Now, Bobby and I are message blissing, okay? He's already gotten his good buddies, his golf buddies and his neighbors. They're coming because they're always going to support Bobby no matter what he does, right? I'm like, okay, now let's get that memory jogger out. And Bobby has been a great new distributor. He's already got 75 names on his memory jogger. So we're talking about how's he going to reach out to his dentist. He has his dentist phone number. They golf together sometimes, but that's kind of a scary one. I'm going to help him with some of that verbiage. He's going to reach out to his auto mechanic and talk to him, because when he had the car in last month, the auto mechanic was complaining about arthritis in his knees. So that's the other thing you're going to help your new rep do, you guys, is get a memory jogger going. And I'm going to tell you 2 things that were awesome that my upline did for me when I got started. And that is, I started with about 50 names. Reagan Dean came in and she said, what if I was going to pay you $20 for every name you put on that list? Well, you know what? I came up with 200 names really, really fast. And it really empowered me, you guys. I was calling old friends' parents. I was calling teachers that from high school. I mean, I kind of was like anybody that I could pick up the phone and say, this is Ellen Graham, and they had a vague idea who that was. They were fair game, and they went on that memory jogger. So I want you guys to empower people in a conversation. Again, is this coffee at your kitchen table, over Zoom or over the phone, to get lots and lots of names written down on that memory jogger. And then you can take that memory jogger into message blitzing, calling, inviting for events, exchanging videos, all of those great things that happen as we get those conversations started about Juice Plus, okay? So I hope that it comes across, and I have 6 principles I want to end with, but I hope it comes across to you guys that the most important thing is you can do is get in front of your people's people, okay? Because they're new, they're coming to this with all kinds of perceptions. They probably have some fear around it. And if you can help them get a little bit of success under their belt, they are going to feel so great about themselves. They're going to feel great about you. And that's your job. That's what you get paid to do here, guys. And it is about those events. It's about those stories. It's about picking up the phone or messaging people. And I am very much in the 21st century, but you know what? People still answer the phone and they're surprised you called. And I had 3 really fruitful conversations today because I called people and I did not text. So sit down with your new distributors at the kitchen table and help them pick up the 25-pound phone and make those first calls. That's really, really important. As you can see, you guys, you're just guiding them through the process, okay? You're down here and you know, this is a couple of different phone calls. I also want to make sure this distributor is going to get to work. I don't want to spend 6 hours up here with them doing all of this stuff if they're not down here doing this stuff, okay? That is a super important thing. We don't create residual income teaching people to set up virtual offices, okay? We create residual income empowering people to get in front of people and tell their stories. So I want you to be very, very clear about that. Lynn Page, fantastic NMD in our company, when I was coming up through the ranks, she would get on stage and she would say, you guys go make a mess and your sponsor will help you clean it up. Okay? And that is still true. So there are always people in your upline that are willing to help you if you feel like, oh my gosh, I started 3 new reps. 2 of them got 2 new reps. This is a mess. Are we doing this? Are we doing this right? That's okay. And I will tell you that kind of a mess is going to show up in your paycheck and it's going to show up in the stories that come back to you about lives changed. So it's okay if you bring your worksheet. You know, if Tori calls me and she goes, okay, I started a new rep, I've got the worksheet and like, this is a mess. Am I doing this right? We're going to go through it together and we're going to make sure she's on track. We're going to make sure her new rep's on track. And that's why this team atmosphere is so awesome. But that's also, you guys, why you get people connected, okay? And make sure that when you're putting them in the Facebook groups, when you're putting them in the Voxer groups, make sure you edify how awesome your team is. You know, you can say, gosh, you know, it might be really cool. What if you have a question at 5 o'clock in the morning in California? I'm not awake yet. Please don't wake me up. Get on Voxer, and somebody from our East Coast team is probably going to answer your question, okay? You know, when I welcome Judy in my Facebook group, she's going to feel excited when she adds her neighbor to the team and she goes and welcomes her team in the Facebook group. So we want to really build that community up and then continue to cast vision through this whole process. So I want to add just 6 things that you guys can write down, put a Post-it note up on your whiteboard, in your planner, whatever. But number 1 is use the mission-driven model. That's the system. And I feel like this has been ambiguous for a decade for me, and it's finally clear, and I'm thankful for that. Number 2, this is a business of duplication, okay? That means you need to show people how to do things and empower them to go show others, and that is how you create residual income. You don't create it doing it for them, okay? So sometimes we don't put people on Voxer or we don't put them on the virtual office because we're going to do it for them and make it easy because we don't want to scare them. That's a great way to create yourself a low-paying job, okay? So empower people by showing them how and showing them where the resources are. Number 3, use your intuition. Is your new rep getting overwhelmed? Take a break, come back to it. Let me give you a great example. I have somebody on my team who's restarting her 2000 plus. We had a restart meeting last week. I said, okay, next week, let's sit down with your 75 names. Well, I went to confirm the meeting with her this week and she didn't respond. So I responded, I said, hey, is everything okay? And she goes, I'm just taking more time than I thought I needed to come up with those names. And I said, you are doing great. Take your time. I'm going to check in with you in a couple of days. And so meet people where they are at. This is not about putting pressure on people. We have a great system that meets everybody where they're at, all right? Someone who's not technically savvy, I'm not gonna put them into Vox or Facebook virtual office all at the same time. I'm gonna pace that out a little bit for them. My millennial though, you better get them on there because they will never answer the phone and talk to you in person, okay? So know your people, right? Figure that out. Number 4, casting vision. All through this process, you guys, you have such an awesome opportunity to cast vision for your new distributor. You know, when you are, when you're bringing them into Voxer, you're telling a story about, oh my gosh, some of the Voxers I hear from Wendy Campbell or Catherine Lee, those are the Voxers that inspired me to be where I am today, to not give up, that taught me things that I had no idea about. So you're casting vision. You're going through that fast track roadmap a couple times. You're saying, look, you've got 300 points already. Of course you can do 500. And when they get to 500, you're saying, hey, you already got 500. Of course you can get to 2,000. All right, so you're casting vision. Number 5, be one step ahead of your new distributor, okay? It's like having kids. Good moms are one step ahead, okay? And because think about it, you're an insider and they're not. They don't know what you do, what you know, so don't make assumptions, but be one step ahead. So a good morning Voxer to my new rep might be a little bit of encouragement. If it's me, you know, I might send them a really silly meme or something like that. And I would just say, hey, good morning. I saw you put 2 new orders in yesterday. You know, way to make a difference. This is where this puts you, and this is what your next step is for getting to your next target. And I like to lay those steps out for people. And then I can say, do you have any questions? And are you clear? And that clarifying process is how we get to know people, how we share more stories and cast more vision. And then number 6, and I said it enough tonight, but community, community, community. Get people plugged into the community. We don't want anyone feeling like they're out there doing this alone, because the first time they get their door slammed in their face, they will feel, you know, some tough emotions like shame, embarrassment, maybe things like that. And if they're plugged into a community of people who are talking about all of this stuff, they're going to feel like they can overcome that, but they won't if they've been sort of left alone in a vacuum in the dark about what's happening. So keep one step ahead of them, keep them plugged into the group. Now that being said, I want to go back to the bar and just remind you guys, you can print the getting started checklist, the fast track roadmap, and the points chart. Easy peasy little starter folder for your people. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for Q&A, you guys. What a great quiet group tonight. Anybody? You can unmute yourselves. Quiet, Bart. Both of you.
What do you handle when you have someone sign up as a new rep that kind of just says, well, I'm not really sure, I don't really want to do the business, but you know, I want to share it with a few people. How do you handle kind of nurturing that relationship? Because I like, you know, I have someone new that's kind of like that, and I don't want to bug her, but I want to stay in touch with her. And so
Totally.
I've given her all of the resources, but I'm just curious at how you handle someone like that.
That's a great question, Jackie, because you know what? That's 75, 80% of our team. That is 75, 80% of a healthy organization. So I have them in my team Facebook. I ask them about Voxer. They don't typically participate in Voxer, but sometimes they do. So I give them that option. And from time to time, I remind in my team page, hey, this Voxer chat is available, things like that. So that's where you got to use your intuition for, how invite them always to events. Always be inviting them. Always be, treat them like your best customers, because they really are. And but by no means should they feel any pressure to do something that maybe they're not ready to do. Does that help?
Reagan always says too, Ellen, you do have to make sure though, if they're sort of like, well, I might share it, I might not, and they're kind of in there, that she always says to me to make sure that they at least know, you need to let them know, look, I just at least need to have a phone call with you so you know how to take care of your own order.
Absolutely.
So that they're just not a customer, you know what I mean? That you're still following up and letting them know when their order is shipping and all that kind of stuff. Because then, you know, you're doing all the work. So you still need to make them aware that, look, if you want to do this, that's fine. You at least at minimum need to know how to take care of your own order.
That's
I don't know. That's what she said.
That's a great segue, Jen, because we had that conversation yesterday. Somebody almost joined our team, and then we started to talk about the virtual office, and she goes, well, if I don't join, you know, does my friend Melissa still take care of my order? And we're like, yes. And she goes, I want that. Great. Okay, you get that. So yes, make sure you've shown them how the virtual office works. You know, we don't just like sign up people and throw them to the wolves. You know, make sure that, and in this day and age, I find people figure it out on their own. Very rarely do I have to explain the virtual office. So just clarify that with them. But, you know, make sure you also show them what's possible next. And, you know, come back to those people every 6 months or once a year and, you know, say hi and remind them of what's possible, because you never know. Any other questions?
I just want to say thanks, because I do sometimes feel overwhelmed, because I just feel like there's been a lot of changes through the years. Like, God, how do you start them? And there's like all these different things and stuff that comes up. And, you know, if there's been a lag in time where you haven't started somebody new and then now you have to, and then there's that, at least for me, there's a lot of anxiety there with, oh my gosh, like, how do I do it? It's been a while. So I do love that we have this mission-driven model, and I just appreciate you going through everything and just kind of clarifying that. So I just want to say thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. And you guys,
thank you.
Keep it simple. You know, I said this morning on Voxer, and this is so true. Your brain is your own worst enemy. You sit there and think about it and don't do it, and it gets harder and harder in your mind. And, you know, it's, if I sat here and, you know, thought about going running after having this concussion, it sounds really awful and hard. I haven't gone running in 2.5 months. But you know what? If I just throw my running shoes on and some good music and don't worry about it and don't count the miles and go out there and see what happens, it'll probably be okay. You know, I might be a little sore tomorrow. That's what your sponsor's for, you guys. Call your sponsor. You know, we love hearing from you guys when you're asking those questions about, okay, this is where we're at. Is there anything, you know, I should be doing? And that's why this is a team thing. So go and sign up lots and lots of distributors, you know, 10, 15, 20 people this year, because it's not that complicated. And, you know, you go sign up 20 people this year, you guys, and in that, you're going to find a couple of rock stars that are going to conferences with you and calling you late at night, asking you lots of questions like Tori and Sarah do with me. And I love it. It brings me so much joy because they're changing people's lives. It's awesome.
Thanks, Ellen.
Yeah, thank you, Ellen.
Awesome.
That was great. Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Love you guys. Have a great night.
Thank
All right,
you so much. Great job.
Thanks.
Thank
Good night.
Bye, Mel.
Bye.